Good morning. I got bedhead, don't I? Look at that bedhead. Actually went to Starbucks like this. I don't care. It's funny, the older you get, the more liberty you're afforded, which is why you get lazy about how you dress and look. People are like, oh, that's an old man. He's old man dress funny or whatever. So we're doing an Ask Me Anything. Could be dangerous. Holly, thank you so much. I want to give you a shout out here in a minute. I don't want to do it now because there's not that many people on. I want to wait until we have more people going. But I really appreciate you doing that. The copy and paste. Well, I tried to copy and paste, but there was so much formatting in the Discord thing that it was a mess. I was trying to do what you did neatly, and I'm assuming you didn't just type it all in, that you copy and paste it, but you were able to reformat it. I don't know. Probably is a very simple button you push, but where? Oh, it's up here. Where's my? We had an acoustic weekend this weekend at church, and we're doing it again this coming weekend. And I played, actually on one of the songs, the version that they sent the video of was a ukulele. So I played ukulele on the first song, and then I played, Alex played his Martin the whole time. And Alex would be totally capable of doing all the ancillary. I could play rhythm guitar, and then he could play the, all the instruments. But I played ukulele, mandolin, and 12-string. 12-string mandolin. We only do 3 songs right now because of COVID situation. As soon as we're done with worship, we take off. So we're not hanging out backstage or anything like that. So, we used to do a song at the end of the service, but right now we're not doing that. We've been told, don't get used to getting to go home early. We're going to bring that back. So I know our pastor wants to bring that back. So we'll probably be doing that. Let's see if I can find a link so you can watch the worship. It was really cool. You know what they did? I thought at first it was an accident. We thought that, let's see. I thought that they were making a mistake, and because the side screens were black and white, and I'm like, something's wrong in the system. And, but in fact, it was all part of their design. They know what they're doing. Where is it? Here's this. Oh, this must be it right here. I gotta mute it though. Oh, it is muted. Okay. You have to skip in. Yeah. So let's see. You have to skip in a little bit. Looks like. Oh, there's a countdown clock. Where's my sound? Oh, I have my speakers off. Hold on. Clap. My little ukulele. Okay, so, okay. And I'm wearing my mask. It's funny. Oh, man. Okay, let's see. Share. Oh, what's this do? Copy link. There we go. All right. So here's a link if you want to watch this later to see what we're doing. I want to see if you can see the screens. Turn this off. I want to see if you can see the screens at any point. Yeah, you can't really scroll through it. Okay. I'll check it out later. All right. Let's see. Well, we got 20 on. Okay. I want to see, basically what I want to try to do is, I want to try to be equitable. I got multiple questions from some people. So I'll try to spread it out a little bit. And then I will try to make sure that whoever's getting their question answered is actually in the. So I asked you to submit questions on the Discord. And I have to tell you, I was talking to Beth last night. It is kind of odd to be talked about when you're not that, it's like you guys are talking about me, and that's totally fine because that's why the whole Discord was started. But it's just kind of weird. I didn't ever think about it until I get there and everybody's like, well, Tom feels this way, or Tom said this on this date, and Tom, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to be careful what I say because I guess I'm what you call an influencer. In fact, I just signed up and got accepted. I signed up for Sweetwater. So I'm going to be starting to put more Sweetwater links. I'm going to create a Sweetwater store that you can go to, and all my gear recommendations are going to be there instead of Amazon. And by gear, I mean even picks and strings and capos. And I'm going to start with a little stuff. I'm going to try to go there this summer and shoot some videos and play a lot of cheap acoustics and a lot of cheap amps, because that's the two top questions I get. And so I want to have I want to be able to give you some intelligent answers, which is also my goal today. So, okay. Let's see. Everybody's saying hello to each other. We got a goodly amount of people here, 28. So we're doing an Ask Me Anything. You can see there. I'm going to try to I'll copy and paste the question into there so you can kind of see it. So I think we got enough here to get started. I just want to say, no. I got tons of ammo, Holly, but I actually do. Yours is an easy question to answer, and although it's a lengthy question to answer. Let me just do some shout outs here. Bruce, hi there. Brian, Lena, good. I'm glad you're here because I'm going to answer your questions, a couple of your questions first, I think. Jack Lloyd, good to see you. Hook, you're in the house. Brian Harkins, Roger, Bob Schumann. We got the resident engineer in the house. David Sillers, good to see you in Scotland. Whitsend, good to see you too. Did I say hi to Alan already? Were you up here, Alan, or was that Brian and Jack? Okay, I'm getting Jack, Brian, and Alan all mixed up. Okay. Sham's in the house too. Good to see you. John, good. I'm glad you're in the house. I saw your question. Ed, good to see you. Louisiana, long time no see. I'm doing the questions have already been submitted, so if I have time at the end, I'll take some questions here at the back. Yeah, I'm going to answer questions about it. Well, I'll talk about anything. I have to be careful. Let's see. Okay. Oh, did I miss it? Arc? Sorry, I missed you there. Paul Meyer, good to see you. Paul, you didn't submit a question. Paul, I did watch your videos playing keyboards. And you played piano and flute in our band that we had together. And I played guitar, and then Cal English played drums. That was our trio. We didn't have a bass player. It was literally my first band, real band, where I actually played real songs. So I've got some questions here, and I think I'll start with one of Lena's. I've got them all here right in front of me. All right. And I'm gonna copy and paste it here, I think. Let me see what this does. It should just, oh, there we go. All right. Oh, interesting. All right. Okay, so the first question from Lena is, she says, when you write a song, do you write a chord progression first and then come up with a melody, or vice versa? Okay. Actually, that is, I was trying to, initially, my initial thought on that was, no, every song's different. But as I kind of go back through time, I do realize that I need a foundational inspiration. Now, I may have a lyric idea, and for me, it's different from other people. I may have a lyric idea, I may have a melody in my head that I want to harmonize, but generally, no, I'm sitting down and I'm trying to come up with something interesting on the guitar that will inspire different, now, when I think about, well, maybe I need to put these questions like some up here. Let me redo this. Hold on. Okay, and then maybe make it smaller. I don't know. This is going to be interesting. Move it over here. Oops. So easy to grab the wrong thing when you're doing OBS here. Don't ask me how to do OBS questions, okay? Because, yeah, that's even kind of a little on the hard to read side, isn't it? But it's just mainly the glare off of the dobro. Now it's funny because when I think of the song that you heard me sing that I wrote, it's actually called "Not Far From Where I Stand," but I see myself as blind. I think of myself as thoughtless. I feel like I'm so unfeeling, like I don't know what the cost is. I know I'm so unknowing. I've heard I'm also deaf. I had nothing to begin with, and there's nothing left. Now, I don't believe that. I think that one's a weird one because I don't know. I don't remember the order of things. But other ones I wrote like. I can't remember the words of this one, but anyway, that one, it was a kind of a 6/8 vibe back and forth, and then I would just start singing lyrics, and then I would almost always it was the first lyric of whatever the song was is what kind of inspired the whole song. It's not really how things are done by most people, I don't think, but I would definitely, back in the day when I was writing with zero success, mind you. I was definitely letting riffs and things like that inspire the song. And oftentimes I was writing for other people to sing. Okay. So in my first band, Kirk was singing and Beth, my wife, was singing. And so very rarely was I would occasionally sing a song. It'd be like Ringo Starr or something, I'd get to sing one song a night, but now, it's very much true with all the pop writing I do. I'm going to have to shut this. It's getting really bright. With all the pop writing I do, I just write what's called the bottom line or the support, the harmony, the under that. I don't even necessarily would say I write the structure, but because they may chop up my guitar and put it in all different ways that I didn't even conceive of it. There's a Bieber song that never got released that I wrote that was actually in 7/4. I think it went like. And I sent that to them, and they gave it to a producer, and he turned it into. Chopped it up and did that with it. Okay, so but I generally write a hook, a rhythm idea, and then top line writers come in and get inspired by it and write on top of that. And top line writers tend to write lyrics and melody. Sometimes it may be 2 or 3 people doing that. A lot of times it's people collaborating in a room. In hip hop, it's a lot of beats and stuff like that. They come up with a cool beat and they write over that. Rarely is the lyric and the melody the first thing that's ever written. You need something to sing over. So basically that's what I do first. Okay. All right. And then Lena, you had another question I'm going to answer. You had 4 questions. I'm going to answer the book one is tough. But let me just arrangement one also. Could be a really long. That could be a really long answer. The modes question, but Lena asked, how do I recognize modes? You know, that is a big thing where if you, the more you get to know the modes, and I don't know that I would be able to tell you that I recognize the modes when I first hear them. But when I think of modes, I often think of an emotion, right? How often have I said, oh, Lydian, that's, the movie score when they want to make you cry, okay? That's, um, that's that's one way to recognize that, and the Mixolydian might make you think of the blues, and the Dorian might make you think of like Miles Davis or something. So you kind of almost have to go with the emotions there. Sorry if I'm not keeping up on the side stuff here. Sham asked, what would I like to do if guitar was removed from my life? I would probably be a financial advisor. And I've done this my whole life, but I've helped people save money, help people learn how to be financially stable, and so I would probably just do that. I love that too. I find a passion for whatever I'm doing. If I was digging ditches, I'd be the most passionate ditch digger in the world. So, okay, so when you arrange a song, the only reason I'm answering this question, Lena, is because it's really because you asked it. That's the only the only is I just got asked to do an arrangement of a Bob Dylan song, which was funny because I didn't know it was a Bob Dylan song. I know I've had to have heard the song because it's in movies I've seen. But I had no idea Bob Dylan wrote this, and he wrote it in '97. So it's not like it's a big. It was like back in the '60s or anything like that. And the thing is, I think he wrote it for Billy Joel. "Make You Feel My Love," right? You know that song probably. I was shocked at how many big names recorded. Well, Adele recorded it. But so did Billy Joel. Garth Brooks is the one that most people know, I think. So did Brian Ferry recorded. I mean, the list of artists, David Bowie. There were some others, and a lot of good writers recorded it. But that's not unusual for a Bob Dylan song. Well, the thing about this song is it's one thing to arrange a song that's like. Because then it's like, okay, that's 1, 6, 4, 5. Let's start messing it up, right? The first thing I want to do is flip the 1 and the 4. So maybe you're going, the 1 and the 6. So that's one of the tricks you can use. You can start messing with the chords and using minor subs or major subs and things like that, and to make them so it's not the. I'll tell you one thing that bothers me about bands doing covers. Or artists doing covers at all, is when they try to make it sound exactly like the original. I'm like, what's the point? Make it sound like you wrote the song. How would you do this song if you wrote this song? And so the best arrangements are ones like that. Now, for working for someone else, you want to keep in mind their needs and stuff. So this was Kelly Jekyll, who is an artist that I work with quite a bit. We've written a lot of music together in the last 3 or 4 years. Kelly, and she was in the movie Pitch Perfect. You can look her up. She was in the group. Actually, in all 3 movies, I don't think she ever had a line. Or maybe in the 3rd movie, they gave her a line like, "Why are we talking?" or something like that. Kind of making fun of it. So Kelly wanted to do the song. I always forget. I want to say, "Make You Feel My Love." I want to say, "Make Me Feel Your Love." I get the two mixed up. So make me feel your love. No, make you feel my love. Anyway, she wanted to do it A. So I'm like, okay. And the tempo was, she did, said like this tempo and everything. And so it's it's a very specific chord progression. It's just this continuous descending kind of thing. Okay. But she also likes, you know, droney things. She also likes suspended chords and things like that. So what I did was I tuned. Oh, just broke a string. Well, I'll take another guitar. Where's my other piece? Oh, here we go. I put the capo on and then detune. That's not a good idea. Okay, so time to change strings on that thing anyway. This is going to be interesting. Well, let me see. Let me detune it first. Oh, I'm in open D. Let me get the tuner on. Okay. But what I tried to do was to try to kind of do an arrangement of it that was unique for Kelly. That wasn't you know, too far off the original progression, but also had some unique elements. So I added a loop. I did a piano thing where I was just hitting like two notes, E and A, bing, 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 and then I reversed it. See, this is, I think, the last version of it. I want that to be D. And so I reversed it and then offset it by a little bit, so it kind of created this this kind of loop, droney loop thing. And I mixed it pretty far back, put some reverb on it, reversed it so that you really can't tell that it's piano. And that was kind of like something to play against and to get inspired by. And then from there, even though the chords changed, the A and the E pretty much worked until I got to the bridge. And I really think of this song as kind of reminds me a lot of Diary by Bread. If you remember that song. Or If. Maybe I'm thinking If. But Diary and If are very similar songs. If a picture paints 1,000 words, remember that one? Where it just keeps descending and descending and descending. Here we go. So here's what I did. Let's see, here's the loop I created. It's down here. So what that was basically this. You can hear that. Okay. And then what I did was I went through the whole song and just did the piano. So here's I just basically did very simple 4, 2, 3, 4, 2. And you add this loop to it. Like I said, it's a very, very, you can't really do too much of that chord progression, so because it's so iconic. So that's kind of, that robs that bit of fun from it. But when you're doing an arrangement of a pre-existing song. So, and then what I did was on top of that. Now it's funny because the A section reminds me of Bread, and then the B section. Let's see, what was that again? I'm trying to remember the B section right here. I added some for this arrangement, and you'll be able to hear this, I think, at some point. We're doing it for our Patreon, but I added some cello. Let me take out the guitar for just a second so you don't hear the guitar. Hopefully you can hear this. I added cello, just one cello, and then also mellotron, like a Beatles mellotron kind of vibe. It's very pretty, and I played, the piano's really soft. I really brought the MIDI down. So the guitar I did there for that B section is this. like I said, you really can't mess with those chords too much because everybody's expecting to hear them. And then it kicks into the back to the verse. I mean, there's a million arranging tricks, but the main thing is that you just make something that you want to listen to. If you want to listen to, chances are it's going to be what a lot of other people want to hear too. So, and you're going to have to make it fit your voice if you're going to sing. So you may have to change the key. Change the tempo. Don't do the same tempo as the original. Speed it up or slow it down a little bit. Changing the key helps. Maybe make some chord substitutions, but things like that are a pretty good way of doing an arrangement that can make it sound a little bit more like you. Can you take liberty with melodies? Maybe. Definitely people do ad-libs that come off of melodies. I've heard, and there's great, in fact, I was just listening. I'll tell you a great example of a great arrangement that I'm sure a lot of you know. And I'd totally forgotten about this. But Beth and I were watching the documentary about Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young last night on Amazon Prime. And it got me thinking. They did Blackbird at Woodstock, which I totally forgot they did. But they're doing a decent job of Blackbird. I said, what one of my favorite arrangements of Blackbird was Kenny Rankin's arrangement. And Kenny Rankin was a singer-songwriter in the 60s and 70s, and his most famous song is a cover of a Beatles song. And sadly, he still performs it, I think. EDM is 128 lock. Yeah, maybe. Oh, screen share. Let's see. Let's see. I can do it, but I have to take that out. Let's see if I can screen share. Display capture, window capture. Is that what that is? Oh, okay. Here we go. Oh, wow. I can do... What is this? Interesting. It's pretty big. So that's the piano right there. Let's see what happens if I hit play. Yeah, that didn't work the way I thought it was. I'd have to practice with that Avito for future reference, and we could talk about arrangements, and that's actually not a bad idea for a series, is to do a series on arrangements. Okay, so all right, so let me hit another question. I'm not going to be able to get to some of these in too deep a depth. Let's see. Ark, you asked me about play that scale. Oh, that's just C Lydian. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. Yeah, what I did on this song though, I did drop the. So what I played was redundant. Check this out. So I have this. I have two A's because this is an A, and I tuned what would be the B string down to A. And then when I did that, you definitely hear the G sharp against the A, and then so there's a lot of A drone in there. So that was intentional. So that's what I did. Okay, so let me see. Now, working. Okay, so Ark was asking about because I mentioned that ukulele is maybe a good instrument for someone to start with, or little kids start with it. Let's see. I'm trying to. Okay. I mean, you've already started on guitar, so you're good. You're talking about someone else. Okay, to start on uke. Oops, I don't need to capitalize uke. And transition to guitar. Okay, that's a good question. And then I noticed that Bruce commented, actually, Bruce, I think my first guitar actually was either a 3/4 or a 7/8. I don't have that guitar anymore. I gave it to a missionary family before I moved to California. So I don't really, I'm pretty sure it was slightly smaller. That doesn't mean that the fretboard was smaller. I don't remember. I remember it feeling pretty big. I don't have any pictures of me playing it though. That's the thing. I couldn't find anything like that. I don't even think I have any pictures of me playing the K12 string, which I bought at 11 with my own money and almost made me quit playing guitar because a 12 string is going to have a wider neck to accommodate all 12 strings. And it is also a K, so it was not very well made, and the action was really high, and it was like, what was I thinking? It wasn't long before I took 6 strings off and just made it a steel, kind of a steel string. There's a air quotes, a 6 string. I think you're totally aware that you guys are mostly talking to yourself over here because I'm. But I'm going to keep these questions so that I can, you know, go into more detail in the future too. Was that hey Bongo Fury, the Bob Dylan progression. Well, I mean, I'll just play it here. You know, D, A over C sharp. It's basically all. The way they come up with that progression generally is just like, oh, let's make a descending bass line and let's figure out the harmony as we go. So I mean, it's basically you're playing 1, 5, flat 2 to 4. Yeah, I'm sorry, flat major 7 to 4, right? And then you could either think of this as B flat, so we're kind of going, or you could think of it as a minor version of this chord, the 4 chord, the minor 4, because it kind of sounds like a minor 4, which is a really strong chord leading back to the 1, which is what this is. It's just a 1 with a 5th in the bass. It's a D over A in this case. So we have D, A over C sharp, C basically, C2, G over B, G minor would be flat, then to D over A, and then this is, you know, then it goes to the let's see, we're in D, so this is the major 2, you know, it's a circle of fifths. Remember that we got the, you know, that kind of thing, a circle of fifths. So we're doing the 5 of the 5 to the 5 to the 1. We don't do a bunch of circles, we just do 2. 5 of the 5 to the 5 to the 1. But he doesn't really do a hard 5, he does more of like a 5 sus. So that, yeah, and so it's just a kind of a, you know, you're just playing this descending bass line and adjusting the chords as you go to make it the most pretty you can make it. It's just I'm sure he wasn't thinking, well, I think I'll do the 1 to the 5 to the flat 7 to the 4 to the minor 4, you know. It's just, okay, now let's harmonize that. That's probably, and in fact, even over the E, you could go G sharp and then back to the A and then to the D. So you could even go all the way down. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, I'm no Rick Beato though. That guy's a freaking monster. Okay, but he did see my comment. Did I tell you that? I had to do a screenshot. He said, "Thanks, Tom." So, still getting my guitar in tune here. I broke a string. You guys witnessed that. Okay, so but the ukulele thing. My main point about that is that some of the shapes will transfer, and I think it's I don't know that that's too much of a problem. I know that for a fact. In fact, Holly mentioned that I like George Benson. George Benson started on a ukulele. There are a lot of guitar players that started on ukulele when they were little. Alex started on a ukulele, my son, um, because it was something he could rock out with when he was like 2, because he wanted to be me. If he could have crawled up inside of me and been me, he would have. And literally from the age of 6, we could tell that he was really music minded. So, I mean, the age of 6 months, he would be crawling down the hallway, and he would hear music come on, and he'd stop dead in his tracks and just kind of rock in time with the music. He couldn't crawl if there was music going on. He had to stop and listen. So that's pretty cool. Oh, thank you, Dennis. Thanks for posting the Discord link. This is where people posted their questions. I'm going to pin this so we can deal with that. So yeah, so I think it's okay to start a kid on, for example, an adult. No, just go to guitar. But if your hand, I talked about this in on my video tips for guitars with small hands, and I got a little bit of grief from it, but I knew I would when I said that basically you don't have to play guitar. And it's like somebody said, yeah, I go to learn how to play guitar with small hands, and the YouTuber tells me don't play guitar. What a jerk. And I'm like, yeah, I knew I was going to get that comment because, I like to say I don't, because somebody actually, this is the best comment I've ever had, and it was, you don't teach people how to play guitar, you teach people how to make music. And that's exactly what I've tried to do. And man, so there's the video on small hands. It doesn't matter what instrument you play. If your hand's small and you're frustrated and you're like, can't play guitar and you can't jam with anybody and you can't make music because nobody will play with you because you're not good enough because your hands are small. And you can have the opposite problem. Your hands could be too big. You could have too fat of fingers. I've dealt with students that have had that issue. And I took one of them to bass. I said, no, you should be playing bass. And he got to the point where he was gigging with bass as like a 50-year-old learning for the first time. And he had no sense of rhythm. And I mean, pulling my hair out. He didn't have any hair. If he had any hair, I would have pulled his hair out. I was pulling my hair out trying to get him just to clap on 2 and 4. I swear I couldn't. He couldn't. I mean, and that's how basic we started. And he got to the point where he was able to play at his church. He was the bass player at his church and loves it. And if forced him to, if he forced me to teach him how to play guitar instead, he never would have done it. He could not have gotten, because nothing would have rung out. He was deadening everything. Bass is great because you only have to play one note. You don't have to play chords. So that entire struggle is removed from learning music, which is huge. Most instruments, you only play one note on. Guitar and piano are the only, and ukulele, fretted stringed instruments, and piano are pretty much the only instruments you play 2 or more notes on. Violin, you can play double stops and things like that. But you know what I mean. You don't chord a violin, although you can. I'm contradicting myself left and right here. But anyway, I hate for somebody to go, hey, India's finest beans. I love that handle. Oh my gosh. And Sparsh, good to see you. That looks like an Indian name. So I'm assuming you're in India somewhere. God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. Awesome to see all of these new people. And I'm just answering questions that were pre-submitted. Okay, so yeah, so Uke's okay. And I would transition to, get him to transition to guitar as soon as you can. You can get, this guitar, the width is pretty much the same as the Martin, but the reach out for a kid, this is a pretty good guitar for a kid. It was only $160, $170. Now, it's a cheap guitar, but I bought it specifically because I wanted a cheap acoustic that I didn't have. And like I said, I just today found out that I'm an affiliate with Sweetwater now. And I'm going to try to go to Sweetwater this summer, hopefully, and do a series of videos. I'm going to probably check out a whole lot of cheap acoustics and cheap amps. I get a lot of requests for that. Okay, I'm moving on, all right? We've done, basically each question so far has taken 15 minutes. So I don't know if we have any ones that are going to go faster. We'll see. Can you talk through palm muting? Dash, are you here? I don't see Dash. I may skip it if you... Dash, if you're... Has anybody seen Dash? Because I'd rather not answer a question specifically for someone if they're not here. And Dash is about here about 50% of the time. So we got a good viewership, 55 people. Goodness gracious. Richard Lawson's here. Catherine, good to see you. You have tiny hands. And do scales and hand strength. Now, okay, and again, talking about small hands, your hands will grow. Now, I don't know how much of that will happen as an adult, okay? And I show this to people all the time, but I'll line up the bottom of my left and right hand as best I can, and I can see that I've got quite a bit of extra, that's, I don't know, Europeans probably know, it's probably about 3 millimeters of extra length in my left hand that does a lot of, if you play Every Breath You Take, you got that second chord. And Andy Summers has small hands, by the way. I don't know. I tried to find a video of him playing that so I could see what he did, and I actually would do that. It's just if you got a bass player going, you're fine. You don't need to necessarily hold that bass note down. I'll get my grandmother's nail file out because I got to catch a snag on my nail. But the crazy thing is not so much the length, but the spread, because the same thing with piano players. When they're spreading and trying to get at first they can get an octave, the next thing you know they can do a ninth, the next thing they know they can do a tenth. But my left hand is way bigger than my right hand. I mean, I'm literally trying to spread my fingers as far apart as I can. So your hand will get bigger as you play, and especially as you do some exercises. Oh, Dash was here, but he said he had to leave. Dang it. Okay. Oh, they will rewatch. Okay. So Dash was talking about palm muting. I learned to palm mute from Al Di Meola because he would do these, ridiculous guitar things. He was so fast. I wanted to be the fastest guitar player in the world and all of that stupid stuff. And let's see, what sound am I going to use? I got to be careful here. I don't want to go too insane. I'm going to go insane. I am. All right, oops. Changing guitars so nobody can take a sip. Okay? That's one of our drinking game rules. If I change guitars, you take a sip. That's a sippable offense, as we call it. Okay, this is going to be loud, so I'm going to turn this down like so. This may be too gainy. Turn this off. I'll go a little bit down like this. I have no idea what this is going to sound like. All right. And I turned down the gain on that, believe it or not. Okay. So, palm muting is been very adopted into metal, and we may, if I do, I'm leaning towards doing starting a new series to take a break from bluegrass. We're going to come back to bluegrass, but we're talking about musicality or musical embellishments, things like slides and pull-offs and hammer-ons, things like that. I want to do a video, slur studies, which slurs are not saying bad things about people. Slurs are basically hammering on and pulling off. And there's a bunch of great exercises for that, and I may do a video on that. I think that would be a really good one. But I just need to come up with the right exercise for the video. Hey, Tom. Or Tim. Sorry, Tim Whistler. You will feel it in here when you start doing the pull-offs and the hammer-ons with classical. You will definitely feel things, but the palm mute. Basically, the rule is to kind of just get your hand on the bridge and bring it just a little forward, not too far. If you go too far, and you lose your pitch. So you got to be. See, the pitch is this. That's the note I want to hear. But if I go too far. limited. The speed is a little bit limited when you do a palm mute. The other thing about, the funny thing about palm muting is like if I play, it sounds faster, right? So I go. Palm muting, for some reason, even though it's the exact same tempo, palm muting always makes it sound like it's faster to me. I don't know why, but it sounds more aggressive or something. You have a little bit less mobility because you're really trying to anchor your hand on the strings. Okay, so there's a palm mute question answered. Oh, sorry, I didn't put the question up there, but I'll do that the next time. Okay. In fact, let me do something here. Text. Can I make it bold? Oh, I can do underline and I can do strikeout, but here we go. Bold. Boop. Okay. That helps a little bit. All right. Yep. Lost an eardrum on that. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we got up to 50 something. Now we're falling fast. The palm mute thing I lost you on that. All right. Let's see. Ukulele, could you help me? Not guitar. Okay, this is another Dash one. Not guitar. Do you have any recommendations for finding an apartment? Dash, maybe we should have a separate conversation on that. But I'm looking to move from West LA. I don't blame you. Boy, I'll tell you, West LA just is so frustrating to me. I was just telling someone this the other day. That if you look on a map and you look at in Los Angeles, if you look at, I think it's Santa Monica Boulevard. On older maps, there has the number 2 on there. It was supposed to be a freeway. There was supposed to be a freeway that went from that paralleled the 10 in the West Side, going through Hollywood, West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, all of that, and they never did anything with it. The 2 starts in Glendale or La Cañada, actually, La Crescenta, and ends basically, north of downtown LA. If there had been 2 10s, 2 east-west freeways in that area, it would be a dream to get in and out of West Side. But boy, I'll tell you, one time I went for an audition, which I never do auditions, but this was for, we got the gig, but it was for an IBM commercial. And so, those pay really well. So I went, okay, I'll do an audition. And I got it, but I was shocked at how many people were there. And I was like, dang it. But the audition was in Santa Monica, like so many of them are. And the friends and I that we auditioned together decided to go to get dinner afterwards. And it took me an hour to go get from Santa Monica to the other side of the 405 freeway because it was rush hour. And the cars on every street were lined up to just get on the 405. So I had to wait in line. I wasn't getting on the 405. I was just trying to go to the other side. And even the streets that just didn't get on the freeway but just went under the freeway, they were jammed. I could not get from here to there. It took me an hour and a half. Once I got on the other side of 405, then it was about a half an hour to the restaurant in Hollywood. But yeah, so West Side can be really frustrating when you're trying to drive places. You just never leave. There's no they have everything, so you don't need to leave. But it is also very expensive. Echo Park isn't bad. It's a little sketchy at places. Your car's going to get broken into about twice a year. Where Los Feliz is better, but also therefore going to be more expensive. They're right next to each other, but it's what was the other place he asked? Well, Pasadena is great. Los Feliz Art District, yeah. I mean, Pasadena is great. Pasadena is kind of up and coming. Okay, so Bruce, your question. This is a painful. Bruce, I did that. I started that video. So Bruce is okay. Here, I got to copy and paste this because. Is it the only question you asked, Bruce? I'm going to put this in here. Okay. What's the status of the record project you started in 2019? Was it 2019? Oh my gosh. Okay. So trust me, the project was actually probably started in 2005 because some of the songs go back that far. Actually, if I put one of my classical pieces on there, I will have to re-perform it because stupid, and I may have to rewrite some of it because I stupidly put all my classical pieces that I wrote in the late 90s in a friend's library, so he had some more product in his music library. And then he promptly registered them worldwide, which is what he was supposed to do. And I make a little bit of money every maybe 50 to 100 bucks every year from it. I think there was one show in South Korea that actually used it as their theme, and that paid pretty well for a while. So there's a lot of music that I've written in the past. Pretty much everything that's going to go on the record is already written, but then it's a matter of just like getting a performance I'm happy with, and boy, that's tough. It's so funny because I can make other people happier than I can make myself. Story of my life. So now, just performing that I See Myself as Blind song for you guys, which is actually called Not Far From Where I Stand. That just playing that for you guys kind of reminded me, oh yeah, that would be a good one to go on there, because I did want to put maybe 2 or 3 vocal songs on there. I thought maybe I'd have Beth sing a song. I've got a song called Friends that's everybody loves this song. And it was on our record that we released years ago. It's not on any of the streaming services. I wouldn't dare put it up there because it just doesn't sound very good. It just would sound awful. If you were to add it to your one of the songs to your playlist, it would be horribly lacking in sonic quality compared to everything that's on the radio now. So that's why. Wow. Well, actually, April 1st, they're opening Disneyland's going to open at 15% capacity, and you can only be a Californian to go there. I'm like, really? Holy cow! It's ridiculous. And there's going to be a bump when you start opening things, and then they're going to shut it down again. It's like, just let it happen. Let the bump happen. It's just going to happen. You can't protect everyone. We're not going to live forever. I don't know why they don't realize that, but we're not going to live forever. I could have an aneurysm right now, right here in front of you, and that would be horrible and horrific for all of us. But I had a friend that was walking on stage, and on the steps up the stage, he had an aneurysm and was probably dead before he hit the steps. So we all have friends. Like I have another friend that had a heart attack in a walk in the park, the first snow in Nashville. He went for a walk with his wife and hit the ground at a widow. What is it called? A widowmaker heart attack. So Guitar Genie or Genic, Guitar Genic. Good to see you. 44 watching. Yeah, it was up to 52 or something crazy like that. 55. I saw 55. Can you believe it? Okay. So the status is I did that because I wanted you all to hold my feet to the fire. So basically the thing was that and it was a great advice. Well, I thought about doing this project, and my friend Jim said, hey, you should film the progress. And I just forget about it. And so I'm kind of hoping that people like Bruce will make me feel bad as often as possible asking me about it. And will keep my feet to the fire, as they say. Excuse me. And I will chip away at it. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, I got a day off. I'm getting to the point right now where I'm like, I need to make sure I take a day off, because I kind of tend to just work until I can't. Like at night, I'll work until can't keep my head up, and I'll go to bed. That's just every day for me. And so I need to start like going, okay, this day is a day where I don't even turn on the computer. You know what I mean? And it's difficult because on the weekends I'm working at church, both Saturday and Sunday. And then during the week I've got this, but I've got all sorts of stuff going on. And a lot of times I'm doing stuff for composers on the weekends as well. So yeah, Wilco's great. Oh my gosh, what a great. And in fact, I'm buffering over here. If I... Okay, it's green again. Somebody asked me to do some C. Lydian music. That was C. Lydian. Oh, Reed, that's awesome. I'm so glad. In fact, that was just playing in modes. So we're buffering here. Sorry about that. Yep. Fortunately, I'm just answering questions, so you should be able to still hear me. But I'm seeing it go from red to yellow to green. I don't know what's going on here. Let me get speed test up. Running a speed test. Oh yeah, see, this is telling me this. Dang it. Okay, it's green now. Funny thing is, speed test page isn't loading. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna do a speed test while I talk. So, but yeah, so I you know, the record is going to be very eclectic. It's going to be like a gypsy jazz tune on. There'll be a classical thing. There'll be a couple rock tunes. There might be a couple jazz things. Maybe there'll be a couple fingerstyle acoustic things. Maybe 2 or 3 vocal songs. Maybe Kelly will sing a song on it, or maybe I'll release one of our songs that we've done together on my record. You know, it could end up being 20 songs. I don't know. That would almost make it impossible to finish. I do have a friend that will master it, but I'm probably going to have to do the mixing unless I have a bunch of money to pay someone to mix the record. But Alex might help me with that, and I'd be happy to give Alex some money. Yeah, the sound is working fine, but I see it going down to red again. So, okay, the download is 43. Yeah, it's the upload that's hurting. 1 megabyte. Come on, Spectrum. Get back to work. Let's see, get back to work. Do you do lessons on any weekends? You mean live stream? Yeah, the upload is really slow right now. So that's on my end, everybody. Just so you know, it's not you. So don't be restarting your computers or anything like that. The buffering is coming from my end. My upload speed is really slow. I don't think I can change my settings on the fly here. Output. Yeah, I mean, I could change the video bitrate, but I don't think I can do that on the fly. Stream. Yeah. Sadly. Video. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason to, it's just dropping. Yeah, so, okay, I'll get to the next question, all right? And we'll just kind of keep chugging away here. What's a good source for determining what effects pedals are used on a song? Okay, AJ, you're still here, right? And I started to do some research on that question because that's a great question. We got rid of this. Okay, so we're streaming it better now. Okay, AJ, you're still here, I think, right? So AJ asked, what's a good source? Okay, I gotta put this in here. This is a great question. And this, actually, AJ, this may lead me to another video. I mean, this may be one I do with Alex. It'd be actually a really good one to do with Alex. Okay. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to pull up a clean sound since I've got it here. And you know, some things seem obvious, like tape, a delay. Yeah, delay. Okay, that's a delay, but is it a ping pong delay? Is it going left and right? That's ping pong. Are you hearing it going bing, 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 ping pong, like a ping pong ball? Is it getting darker with every repeat? Okay, it's funny because you can actually roll off the top end on most delay units so that it emulates a tape delay. Because what happens with tape delay is as it goes around, every time it goes around, the tape is getting older. As you know, you got 20-year-old tape in your tape delay. Every time it plays back the repeat, it's a little bit like darker. It's losing top end because the tape tends to lose top end. Interesting. I know this that early on, Michael Amardian, who produced a lot of Amy Grant records, he had a trick. Check this out. This is a cool trick. This is irrelevant today, but his trick was he would make drums the last thing he recorded on a record because he wanted the drums, because off most records drums would be the first thing you record, and then you start doing overdubs and you play the tape 1,000 times while you're doing all the guitars and basses and keyboards and vocals and background vocals and strings and all this stuff, and by the time you get to mix the record, the drums have been played so many times that they're just, all that brightness is gone from them. So he would use drum machines for all the tracking, and then he would replace the drum machines with real drums after everything, including vocals, were recorded, and it would mean the drums really popped on his records, and that was a really cool trick. So that just shows you the tape. But the ones that are the hardest to kind of determine, okay, so like for example, I'm going to give you some examples of this. This is fun stuff here. And like I said, I could do a whole video on this. I'm going to pull up a clean sound. Just a basic amp. Twine reverb, there we go. Weird. Why am I getting latency? That never happens. Okay, so I can turn this down. Because that's a clean sound. That's just a clean amp. I'll even turn off the reverb. Okay, so flanging is really common. Sometimes they would put entire flange on records. Let me pull up a flanger so you can hear what a flanger sounds like. We're just going to do a little bit of this, but that's a very typical flanger sound. Okay, but then there's also like, and that would not be an unusual flanger sound. Uh-oh, where'd everybody go? Weird. I lost everybody. That's a pretty stereotypical flanger sound. It sounds great on arpeggiated stuff. It sounds okay on soloing. I'm trying to think of who used a lot of flange. I think, speaking of oh, I know why it's gainy, so gainy, I got that up. Andy Summers would use flange, I think, with the Police quite a bit. Eddie Van Halen used flange. But also they would flange like Life in the Fast Lane. Anytime you hear that jet engine kind of sound, that's flange. I can turn up the I can turn up the feedback. Well, you can hear that. You know, that's flanger. But also Steve Stevens would use flanger for machine gun effects. He was Billy Idol's guitar player, so he would do stuff like, you know, he would do stuff like laser effects. Super annoying, but one of my first effects was a flanger, and of course I overused it. Okay, so flange is one. Phase shifter, I often think of, that makes me think more of Eddie Van Halen. Phase shifter is it's very similar, light high phase. You can phase up on a high end. You can phase 12. Here's a 10 stage phase shift. I don't even know what all of those different phases mean. Something strange is very, very similar to a flange, but not quite as airplane-y, not quite as weird as a flanger. Okay, the other one that's really common is chorus. Those are the three main modulation effects. Ring shifter too, but that's pretty rare. But chorus just slightly delays the guitar a little bit off. itself, and then it creates this stereo spread, and not something you could really hear, but I think of. Now, it's so weird that I'm getting latency. That never happens in my system. Sample rate. Oh yeah. Oh well, I'll figure it out later. Maybe because OBS is open, that may be part of the problem. Wow, it's weird. How many people are you seeing? Yeah, Def Leppard. Yep. They would use stuff. Yeah. Oh, Fame by Bowie. Yep, that's right. Oh, Alex is in the house. Yeah. So that was a question that who had that question? AJ had, and he said going to snarky guitar message boards have revealed nothing other than internet troll hangouts. 100% agree, man. I can't go to those places anymore. There's a couple decent ones, but for the most part, Mark Ween, a friend of mine, Mark Ween, he has a pretty good one. And then also Acoustic Guitar Forum, I find they're pretty cool there. Andy Summers used a flanger. That's what I said earlier. Yeah. Ring modulator. Sometimes you can use a ring modulator, I think, to create like a speaker effect. Let's see if that's it. Ensemble is very similar to chorus. Microphaser is obviously chorus. Modulation delay. Ring shifter. Yeah. Rotor cabinet. That's one I use actually quite a bit. And that one is basically an emulation of a Leslie. And again, you're not in here with me, but like, I can change the speed. You know, it's like. I think of that, plugging a guitar into a Leslie cabinet to get that kind of sound. They actually used a Chordovox in the Beatles records, but they didn't use a Leslie. But let me see. Okay, let me do something real quick. I'm curious why this is doing this. We had 55 at one point, and it just kind of went away. I'm going to go here. Okay, I'm going to get another question here in a second. I think our stream is good, though, now. It says 34 watching. Okay, it's funny. I'm going to get an ad. Oh, yeah, 43 likes. Hey, I'm going to like it. I never get to like my own videos. Okay, yeah, 34 watching. That's so weird. On my analytics here, it dropped to nothing and then climbed back up. Okay, so let's see. Another question. And AJ, I do think that might be a good video for, and then climb back up. Okay, so let's see. Another question. And AJ, I do think that might be a good video for Alex and I to do. Maybe talk about the differences or how to recognize and talk about different songs. Oh man, is it doing it again? Oh, it's doing it again. 0. You guys, we're having problems here, and I think it's, like I said, I think it's on my end. I'm going to run this again, but don't restart your computers, don't quit any apps or anything like that. It's definitely, just so you know, my upload ping was like 2. Okay, so my download is up higher than it was. So let's see if the upload is fixed, because it's now showing that it's not an issue. But yeah, it's still ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't know why I pay my Spectrum bill. I don't know why. It doesn't happen very often, but man, really? The upload was 1.23. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Yeah, maybe the ads. And Joseph, I had that question. Joseph asked if I had one pedal, and let me talk about that one. That's a toughie, but I do have an answer for it. That's a toughie. And does my guitar have effects? Does my amp have effects? No, I'm just kidding. So assuming I've got a Les Paul or a Strat and I've got a Marshall half stack, okay, one pedal, what would it be? That's an. Fortunately, nobody really ever has to make that. You know, the question is there a pedal you can't live without? I would say, oh, dang it, it's doing it again. Sorry, guys. I would say, and I will put this up on my Sweetwater. I got approved as a Sweetwater influencer or whatever, so I will put it up there. So frustrating. Really? 2 advertisements in the last 10 minutes? No, it's not supposed to do that. I turned that off. Hold on a second. Skippable video ads. It doesn't say midstream ones. Let me turn off monetization for now. Okay? See if that helps at all. Sorry about the ads. Yeah, there's a big delay. So, but yeah, somebody else asked me. I think David Sellers asked me. It's in here somewhere. What are my favorite peak moments of playing guitar? Holly's got some good questions. Ted Baker, this is a quick one. He asked me on Facebook what guitar would be what acoustic guitar would be my workhorse for all situations. I would choose my Martin Dreadnought. The thing is, I broke the string. I lost the peg. I just broke the string though when I was tuning it. So it tells you I need to change the string. That's how I know I need to change the string, is when I break a string. But the thing is, I can make, you capo up the 3rd, 4th, 5th fret or whatever, you can make it sound like a small body guitar. So you could, oh gosh, it's still buffering like crazy. Man, this just stinks. I may have to do another Ask Me Anything. I may do one on Wednesday just because this is not working. It's just ridiculous. I wonder if is there something going on? Is there something in the news that I don't know about? I got to find the peg fell out. Don't want to roll over it. Oh, there it is. Hold on. I'll see you. But okay, so you asked me one pedal. Okay, it's not what anyone ever would think. Now, the pedal I can't live without is the Voodoo Lab. Alex works for Voodoo Lab. What's this Voodoo Lab Sparkle Drive? That thing's, in other words, is there a pedal that's always on? That one is pretty much always on. Yeah, Alex is saying it might be on YouTube. No, Alex, it's Spectrum. I got 1 megabyte upload speed right now. Normally it's 10 to 20. So it's just, my download speed is 54, but normally I have at least a 10 upload. I've got green, so I have a little indicator here on my OBS software, and it's green right now. So hopefully you're getting this, but I've lost so many people. I had 54, 55 people at the peak, and then it just crashed to 0. So Sparkle Drive, yeah. So the Sparkle Drive is the one that's kind of my always on when I'm playing electric. It just kind of gives it a little more, kind of a clean boost. That's how I use it. But as far as if I only had one pedal, it would be volume pedal. And you're like, volume pedal? Yeah, because I could do swells. If I have reverb on the amp, I could do swells that will create tails. If I crank the amp and get a really gainy sound, I can use the volume pedal to create a multitude of gain levels just by turning down. If you just have it barely on, it'll be kind of weeny sounding thin, but it'll be cleaner and then as you push your foot down, it'll get loud. So you can have like a lead sound with a toe down, and that would be like full on, and then you could go halfway, and that would be your rhythm sound. You know, you might be able to go somewhere in the middle if you wanted to get a little bit more crunch going in the rhythm sound. So I think that would be my, if I had one pedal, it might be that. And if you were to say what volume pedal, and I would used to say Ernie Ball, but the thing is, I've had 5 Ernie Ball pedals now break on me, and it's like I'm done with them. So Alex hit me to the Boss pedal, and it's great. That thing is seamless. There's even a little volume on the side. Alex, what's the model number of the Boss pedal? I'll find it here on Amazon. For now we're doing Amazon links because I haven't set up anything over there, but let me get a Sparkle Drive link so you can at least, if not buy it outright, you can look at it and see what it looks like. Here it is. Yeah, $150. Now this one's the newer one. I don't have, this is not the one I use. I use the older one. I think, Alex, do they still make the old one? But here's the Sparkle Drive, and it's, the newer one has more options, so it's even a more versatile pedal. And then the Boss volume pedal, I think Alex was probably screaming it at the Boss volume pedal. Is it the FV500H? Is that what it is? Let's see. This looks really familiar. It's $111 here. This looks like it. I mean, it's really good rating. 314 ratings at 4.5 stars. Pretty darn good. I don't even know if this thing could break. It's really solidly built. Now, for putting in a suitcase, it's a little heavy. But there's that one. So if you want to check that out or buy it, that's awesome. Keep in mind, I get a little percentage of any purchases you make on Amazon through my links. And if you go shopping in general, like if you just go on Amazon to go shopping, you click on one of my links and go shopping, I get a percentage of all that. It's pretty fun. So and so that's the disadvantage with Sweetwater is that you're not going to be able to go shopping for like a knife set at the same time. It's just going to be for gear. So I'll still have an Amazon link up there if you want to go do some. Yeah, Patrick, sorry about the buffering. I think we're better now. We're starting to climb up again. Everybody, I'm so sorry. Okay, so and that I just kind of answered the question about what one pedal would you have, and I said a volume pedal if I had one pedal, but fortunately nobody really has that limitation. Or I could say I could have chosen some multi-effects pedal. When I go to Louisville to do the Muhammad Ali Awards, I take a all-in-one unit that's made by TC Electronics, and it has distortions. It has delays, reverbs, choruses, effects, all sorts of effects, things like that. So I program 5 or 6 sounds I like, and then I also bring the Carl Martin. Let's see if they still have that. That thing's a cool pedal because it has basically 2 amps in it plus a boost button. So I think it's Carl Martin. It's not cheap, but that's what I take. Plexitone. That's what I take on the road. Oh, I don't think they sell them anymore. I see just the hilarious. I just see the. Okay, let me find one on Reverb so you can at least do some research on it. Or let me see if they have it at Sweetwater. Now, if they don't have it at Amazon, they won't have it anywhere except Reverb. Carl Martin. So watch this be worth. Alex, I just Plexitone. They have a single channel version for $95. That's pretty cool. Let me see if they have the full one. And I'm not a huge fan of the tone of this thing, but it gets the job done on the road. Yeah, they're about $300. So I think they're still making them. Brand new. Yeah, they're still making them. I don't know why they're not on. Way too many. Okay, well that's not going to work. Oh, delete. Way too many. So just it's Carl Martin Plexitone. You can Google this and then find one. And John, if I end up going to Louisville again, I'll let you know. We can get coffee or lunch or something. Okay. I mean, it's a pretty. I'm there for just like maybe come in on a Thursday, leave on a Sunday kind of thing. Is typically what I do. How many pearls of water? Sweetwater might have it, but I'm going to do a Sweetwater affiliate account thing with them. See if they have one. They don't. Strymon Iridium. But you know, if I had one pedal, I might, I might get a line 6 thing or something like that. But that's not ever kind of one of those things I have to worry about. Okay, so let's go on to another question. Hey, Poland, good to see you. Tomas, that's my name. I didn't know that's how you spell it in Poland, though. Okay, another question. Where are the questions? Upload test error. No kidding, there's Spectrum. I hope you're getting this information. Oh, this was Gary's question. I don't see Gary, but he would probably watch later. Can you sing with asthma? Sure, my wife has asthma and she sings. She's a great singer. Or is that the name of the band you want to sing with? But yeah, you could totally sing with asthma. And it might actually be helpful. I mean, talk to your doctor. I don't want to give you bad advice, but one of the things about singing is they teach you to sing down from your diaphragm, and it makes so pooch out your belly sometimes. But one of the things is you want to have your, and Alex, you've been taking vocal lessons, but I took a couple lessons back in the day too, and you want to get as much air in your lungs. So that's a good thing. I would assume for someone with asthma, and okay, now let's see. Oh, I didn't put the new question up there, and so here, let me get that. All right. Gary's question here is a pretty involved one, and one that Gary, I have to admit that I am not adept at that. Here's his question. How do you arrange songs for a looper or a DAW, meaning a digital audio workstation? I guess if you take your laptop with you for live performances, but a looper, maybe that is a bit too complex. But there is not a ton of instruction out there for loopers, how to pick a song that might lend itself to a looper. My inclination is get a looper to play the chorus or the intro of a song and then switch to play live and bass chords. Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's exactly right. Not a lot of songs are, particularly older songs, are going to be friendly for looper situations. What you might use a looper for, though, is if you've got your acoustic guitar plugged, like, okay, keep in mind, this is kind of how Ed Sheeran got started. He was busking with a looping system, and he was playing his acoustic, and he had his little miniature Martin acoustic, and he had it going through his pedal board, and he would start out with like a bass line, and then he would loop that, and then he would loop whatever on top of that, and then he might do oh, thanks, Hook. He might put a drum beat on there. Okay, so now I don't know if the chord changes are all over the place, you can't put the bass down there, but you can do. You can put a drum beat on the looper, and then you got some. At least you're playing with a drummer, okay? So that thing. Now, however, if you do modern songs, pop music is oftentimes the same chord progressions over and over and over again. And I'm just going to use my own songs for example, but the song I wrote with Justin Bieber called "Home to Mama," that's the entire progression. It's D, B minor, A, G. Okay. Now there are loopers that have an A and B section or multiple. You can set up a verse and chorus. There are loopers that allow you to pre-record stuff and just hit play. And so you have to get good. I really stink, and Alex will tell you this. He's not, I don't know if he's still here. But I really stink at tapping tempos into my tempo thing. I'm getting better at it, but I tend to hold the button down too long, or I tend to be early or late. And so when you're doing loops, if you mess up, some loopers now, though, they will quantize. Like they'll go to the nearest, if you set the tempo, they'll go to the nearest thing and make sure that that always starts on 1 or whatever. I'm sure there's ways to do it. I have a looper that I use. I've got the Ditto X4 that I use for film stuff. I'm going to turn the ads back on. Let's see if that. See, it's not that. I'm pretty sure, but hopefully you won't all get a commercial right now. I don't believe you're getting commercials in the middle of this. I tried to take those out, and they're not. You know. Okay, so and you meant pearls of wisdom. Mr. President, could you help me understand what riff is on the guitar? What riff are you talking about? I mean, I always want to answer the question for Mr. President. I didn't know Joe Biden played guitar. I didn't know his chief of staff. We've been friends since junior high. So, let's see. Okay. Question. All right. Yeah. But pop songs again can be very simple, Gary. So if you do modern songs, if you do older songs, it's going to be a little bit tougher unless it's a very redundant older song, which there are those. Okay. This one, I have a question for you, Holly. You're still there. What does grok mean? Okay. So this was coming. Let's see if I can fit all this in here. All right. I'd like to grok. Oh, see that end? I still gotta return. I gotta hit return a couple more times. Let's see here. Where am I in trouble here? Kind of here. Maybe just there. Yeah, maybe that'll do. I can make it smaller too. Okay, I'd like to grok the concept of dominant in music theory, as in how a dominant scale, degrees, and chords relate to each other and used in music. Is there any relatively simple explanation? Yeah, if you were to take music theory in college, you would spend probably 6 weeks on what's called cadences. And you'll hear me reference cadences, but I won't call them by their official names. I mean, there's things like the Neapolitan cadence or whatever. You're welcome, Oswaldi. But like the Amen cadence has a name, and I can't remember all these. It's been a long time since I've been in school. I never taught this kind of stuff. Not with the proper terminology, not in the theoretical sense, but 4/1 is the Amen cadence. 5/1 is kind of the strongest cadence. And so yes, there are studies of analyzing chord movement, chord structure. We would often do. I don't have any here. Maybe in the garage I used to. One of the things we would do was called figured bass, which was analyzing chord stacks and writing them out, and you could start to see patterns. And I would do that with hymns. So I had these hymnals that I would find at like thrift stores for a dime or something, and I would write in all the figured bass in there. And I got pretty. What it did to was there was no real reason to do that, except that I thought it was important because it was being taught that in music theory. And I studied music theory in high school. And the guy that I studied for 2 years in high school, my sophomore year and junior year in high school, he went to the same college I went to. So when I got to college, it was the same stuff I'd already learned. But I would do all this figured bass stuff, and there was no gain from that, except I got really good at reading bass clef because I'm reading the soprano, alto, tenor, bass lines. So that was what that was. Okay, so grok. So grok is a word from old sci-fi novel that means understand very deeply. So, and the concept of dominant, we used to call it like a G dominant seventh, meant the 5 chord. The concept of dominant almost always refers to the 5 chord and its strength to the tonic. We've talked about this before. If you look at the G7 chord, you play like this. The top 2 notes are a B and an F. That's a tritone. That creates tension. And that B wants to go up to C, and that F wants to go down to E, and you get this. Right? Really nice, very simple resolution, and that's dominant tonic. Okay? And so as you do the scale degrees, one of the things I recommend is just to memorize very simply 1, 4, 5 are major and 2, 3, 6 are minor. And you can do that by playing a G scale like this, and where I'm playing the G and the B, the root and a third, and I'm playing A and C, root and third of the 2 chord, B and D, the root and third of the B minor chord, like that. And you can start to hear with just 2 notes. Basic harmony, and so you can start to mess with it. So instead of doing here, there, and everywhere is 1, and then I think of the Cure. Boys Don't Cry, right? But that's also. But Holly, you could sit down and write down as many using those 6 chords, because the minors, the half diminished chord based on the 7th degree of the scale is not used very often. Although it's nice, I've used it many times, but just can avoid that one for now. Come up with as many progressions as you can find, 4 chord progressions using those 6 chords. And technically, I guess you could have one progression that's just G. But try to use 4 different chords. Oops. You'll start to hear little song ideas. I just wrote one that was that. I went 5, 6, 2, 4, and I really liked it. And then I went 5, 6, 2 to major 3, which leads to the E minor. Or no, I'm sorry. It was. That's what it was. It was 6, 5, 2. Somebody already wrote to it. It's already record bound. But that's not how I played it. But something like that. So. Sam's giving you some tips. 5 the 5, yeah, exactly. And you can 5 the 5 the 5 of the 5. We've talked about that. Remember when we talked about circle of fifths? And we talked about, like, a lot of songs will use the basically the circle of fifths. If I have a song, and that's my A section, and I want a B section. One way to come up with a B section is go to the 3rd of the tonic chord. And make it a 7th chord, a dominant 7th chord. So G, it's not in the key of G, but that is the 5 of the E minor. But it also could be the 5 of the E7, and the E7 is the 5 of the A, and the A is the 5, and the A7 is the 5 of the D7, and the D7 is the 5 of the 1. So that makes for a really and the reason you start on the 3rd is so you have 4 chords. So that the 4th chord is the 5, and that takes you back to the beginning of the song. So, right? And a lot of jazz standards use, a lot of Charlie Parker tunes, things like that, use that trick for their B section. I think let's see, was it? I can't think of it, but there's Donna Lee maybe uses that. I can't remember what songs, specific songs of Charlie Parker's use that trick, but let's see. Yeah, but there's the simple explanation is you can stay. You don't have to go. We talked about this, Holly. We talked about songwriting and everything like that. And what I did was we talked about all the chords. I think it was probably in G, and then we started messing around with like, okay, well now what can we do? Like, you know, the Beatles would do this a lot. They would go to the 4 chord, so you might have some. And that's not in the key of G, but you could do that to every chord in the key of G, that we talked about: the G, A minor, B minor, C, D, and E minor. Okay, so you have major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. That's the order of the things. But you can take, except for the 1 chord, leave the 1 chord major, but all the other ones you can take to the opposite. So you could make A. So if I was playing in G. If I played an A, what does that want to go to? Maybe to C, to D, and then back to C. Yeah, technically, Joseph, that's right. That's all of them. Oh, okay. Technically, Joseph, B diminished is the 7th one. You don't need to make a bunch of chord progressions with a diminished chord in it because they're not going to be ones you'll ever use as a writer for the most part. I mean, maybe generally in that context, C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor. I would use G over B if I were to do an ascending progression that went all the way through. I don't think I would use it classically. Maybe in a classical context, I might do that, but in a pop context, no. Although I do have. Again, I'm quoting myself with the Bieber thing, but when I wrote ETA, right? I did C major 7 to B7, technically to D diminished, D sharp diminished 7th. So I will use a diminished 7th chord in a pop song. So I'm not afraid of it, but it has to be the right context. And in that context, actually, I'm in an E minor, and what I'm doing is the dominant 5 of the E minor, and it's just a substitute for that. Technically, you could also call that B7th with a flat 9. Okay, if I play B7 flat 9 like here, it repeats itself every 3 frets. And it's just the same thing as a diminished chord. Okay, but yeah, you can mess up those chords. So in the C, like Joseph wrote out C, D minor, E minor, F, G. Like I said, you can take the F and make it minor. Such a beautiful. I love the minor 4 thing. But you can also do the minor 5. Like I'll do that. I mean, that just has so much emotion there when you get away from the natural chord. Now I could also go to D major. Check this out. So we had D minor. If I did D major, watch. What if I keep the C in the bass? And I'm doing. That wasn't very good compositionally, but. And then the B section was like. There's our C Lydian, our movie score, like to make people cry. Also Stairway to Heaven, right? But I could go straight from C to D, and maybe to F. So you can mess up those chords, and you know that you're no longer purely in the key. But what you do is you just take any one of those 5 other than the root, take the other 5 chords and make them the opposite of what they are, and that can create a whole new tension that you've got to figure out the path how to get back to square one eventually. You know, you could use it as a tool to modulate, but modulations aren't done really much anymore. I mean, I think Barry Manilow wore us all out. So he used all the modulations and didn't leave anyone for any for anyone else. Yeah, so that's kind of exactly what chord substitutions create the modal thing. It's unintentional. When you go to the D chord in the key of C, you may not have a clue that you're creating a Lydian C Lydian thing. It doesn't matter. You don't need to know that. All you need to know is, oh, that's cool. You know, I love the money chords. I love the chords where it's like you're playing and playing, and all of a sudden you hit this one thing and you're like, oh, that's different. And that's, you know, when I'm trying to create a good pop progression, that's really what I'm on the hunt for. And there could be something really kind of interesting. I mean, in Home to Mama, you know, it's not a big money chord thing, but that to me is like the thing that makes it different than any other song. See, if I'd gone to G there, I went, this is basically D to D2 to B minor, A to A2 to, I didn't go to G, I went to G2. So it has this unsettling open, it wants to go to go to that B, but I don't do it. And then I had the fifth. I think maybe I hammer it on at some point in the song. But the idea was to kind of create something that inspired someone who was going to write the top line. And so anytime I can do that, you know, come up with, I mean, I'm always doing, almost every day I'm sending, well, sometimes multiple times a day, I'm sending guitar hook ideas to all the different artists, producers, songwriters that I work with. I'm trying to keep that, you know, it's kind of shotgun method. You never know which one's going to get on a record and which one could be a hit. I've never had a hit, but okay. So I think we're not buffering anymore, which is good. Let me get to another question here. What would you consider 3 essential pedals, excluding wah? Yeah, David knows I love the wah. Okay. And I can speak in generic terms and in specific terms here too, if I maybe. Let me do this. Okay. Oops. No, I gotta do it here. So this is from David Sillers, and I've kind of already talked a little bit about this, but I do love the wah. I use the wah not so much to be funky as much as I do to filter, to create like a slow filter sweep. To kind of sound like a synth, I'll put on like a, you know, maybe I could put on like a big reverb thing. Let me see. Let me give you an example. I'm gonna have to disappear for a second because it's not plugged in. I'm gonna have to mute this though. Hold on. So I'm actually answering the opposite question of what he asked. Input. All right. And this, man, I'm going to change to the cheap Squier because it has really low output pickups, and you know I love cheap Squiers. So this is just a $100 Squier. This is the guitar I actually used on ETA for Bieber. And the neck is kind of starting to die on me, so it may be not long for this world. I'll put a different neck on it because I really like the pickups. But the neck is starting to, I've been adjusting it, but it's not, I don't want to spend money. Got latency, it's so weird. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. In fact, I'm just going to put in a new setting. So a sound that I use like live. Okay, so I'm gonna really increase the reverb on this. So it's at 30%. I'm gonna put it about 50%. I'm gonna take off the compressor. I could do something. Talk about Lydian. really like that kind of thing. I like that. So I use wah more for that kind of vibe than you know the. You know, more than that kind of vibe. Although I do that a lot too. So, and I do one of my songs for the record that I'm working on is a song I called Slinky, and it's kind of a setup to Terry Kath. And let's see, I'm gonna have to go with a gainier sound. In fact, I'm gonna have to change guitars again. Back to the rock guitar, and I mean, I love wah. So, David, I'm totally answering the wrong question. I'm answering the opposite of your question, which is totally me. Let me go back here. I'm going to pull up like a slightly gainy sound. Let's see. I have to get rid of this. Reset channel strip. Okay, just insert guitar rig. And I just need a good rock. I'm just going to pull up like Angus Young or something like that, you know. Classic rock. Yeah, so this should work. But a song called that I wrote called Slinky, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's exactly, it's not really a Terry Kath. Woo! Holy cow! Let's see. Here we go. Again with the latency, it's driving me crazy. That's it. I think that's the melody. Let me pull up. Hold on. I'm getting my windows in order here. Been a while since I played it, and that's the A section. The B section is something like that. What was it? I forget. A lot of sliding. The whole song is called Slinky because it's sliding. But then I do a second pass of the A section and I do it like this. Yeah, it's very Hendrixy. Is also another kind of direction to go on Hendrix, but the wah. When I bring in the wah, especially on the solo, I mean, at the solo on the original recording, I did kind of a like a. Wow, this latency is driving me insane. I'm going to reboot Logic and see if that gets rid of it. Because I don't really have much going on. Oh, you know why? Okay, I can get rid of it. I know how to get rid of it. That I always forget. Yeah. Wait, no. What? I don't want to delete. Let's see. What do I want? Reset. I want to reset. Yes. There we go. Okay. Now it's not a problem. Yeah, I forgot. I put a bunch of mastering software on the back end of the track that I was mixing, so that's why it was like that. Okay, I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh no, what's with the latency? I never have latency, and then I remembered. All right, so let's see. I'm sorry, I'm missing a lot of touch face. Yeah, I touched my face. Yeah, my nose itches. If I go for the gold and actually go for a booger, that's a double sip right there. So my goal is to never do that because I'm afraid of the GIF or GIF that will be created. You just buy a TC Helicon harmony singer. Gary. Yeah, Gary, I talked about your question, the looping thing. I don't know if you heard that. Did you hear me talk about the looping thing? I don't know anything about those harmony things. But yeah, you can definitely play. I've seen people use it. You want to watch a lot of videos of people using those kind of things and just kind of get a real sense for it. Sounds like gross. Let's see. Has there been a stream where you sip for all you can? No. We've yeah. We could do Gary. We could Gary. Okay, Gary. You want to create a sip rule bingo card? The middle one will be touch your face, but that's 25. That's 5 by 5 because we have about 16 rules. We could do a 6 by 6 card. We could play sip bingo. So, hey, take care, Jack. You've been here the whole time. God bless you. Central Texas. All right. Yes, stay safe. You too. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So, what would you consider 3 essential pedals, excluding wah? All right. If I had to a setup where I had 3 pedals, I would probably cheat a little bit and have a pedal that does, like maybe has 2 gain, like 2 distortion things in it, maybe a low gain and high gain kind of thing. Alex was interviewing someone on Instagram. And he had a pedal. I was like, oh, I got to check this pedal out. Although, again, I'm not a big pedal guy going out playing with pedals. But it had like a tube screamer on one side. And then I forget what the other pedal was. I don't think Alex is here anymore. Hey! First time I hit the Strat earlier, my iPad unexpectedly linked over some... That's funny. I didn't really. Oh, it is loud. I can see. I can turn that down. It's funny. I thought there'd be built-in buffers or something. And I can turn down my guitar too. It doesn't need to be this loud. Oh wow! I just turned down my room. Oh yeah, my room's up a little hot right now. So some kind of gain pedal. I wouldn't, because I like to have a clean sound on my amp, right? And then have the gain come from pedals generally, because you really can't get it. The best gain sounds out of amps generally tend to be the amp turned up. In most situations, you can't turn up that loud. At a gig, I might be bringing like a Fender Deluxe or something like that, and then trying to get a good clean sound and let the pedals do the work. So a good gain pedal, maybe with 2 stages, like a slight boost and like a crunchy sound and a lead sound. Okay. I like compression, so I would be real tempted, but that would be before the gain. But I could probably live without some kind of modulation pedal. I wouldn't need a chorus or flanger or anything like that. I could probably go without that, especially if I'm playing a Strat and I could do, because I can create. I'm going to show you how to do a poor man's echo. But I can create a little bit of modulation. Of course, not with that sound. Let me pull up another amp here. Just do a clean amp. Okay. If I have, you see that? And if I have a delay going on, so if I have delay, then what's happening is so if I have a delay pedal, that would be one of my, I think, pretty standard delay, and I'll put in a tape delay here. Hear that? Now this is a tape delay, and that means that you can roll off the top end. So I'm going to roll off the top end so that it has this. Every repeat gets a little darker than the previous one. And then another thing with a lot of tape delays is they have modulation, so you can make it sound like the tape is kind of fluttery, you know, and so that can give you a chorus effect too. A lot of people will use tape delay pedals. So now I wouldn't maybe get that crazy, but if I have, see, I don't have chorus on. There's no modulation effect at all. No flange, no chorus, no phaser, nothing like that. But if I don't know if you can hear this very well, but if I play a chord, dang it, I'm having a hard time getting my windows together today. Okay, if I play a chord and just wiggle the arm a little bit, what it does is the pitches change and they're not lined up, so that creates a kind of a chorus effect. So the other thing that's nice about delay is you can do like a dotted eighth kind of thing. Now the tempo here is a little slow, so maybe I'll do a dotted 16th. Right? So I get my U2 pick out. Okay, it's pretty fast. But what I'm doing there is I'm playing just eighth notes and letting the delay do half of the work. So really what I'm playing, if I turn off the delay, is this. It takes a while to get it. That's a fast version of that. A great example, Albert Lee would use that a lot. He used it on a song called Country Boy, which is really cool. And he did it with, if you listen to Luxury Liner by Emmylou Harris, you can hear Albert Lee do it. It sounds like he's playing insanely fast. Luxury Liner, Emmylou Harris. Okay, check that out. And that's Albert Lee playing on that, and he played with her for years. And he lives out in LA, but he's from Britain. Great country player, ironically from Britain. But he would do this. And you know, so it's like, that's all he's doing. But it sounds like this, you know, it sounds like. See, and I figured it out. I thought he was actually playing every note. So when I was a kid, I was trying to figure out how he, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, that solo is amazing. And I was like, it's like groupings of three. And I'm like, man. And then I found out later he just did this. And I'm like, come on, cheater. It's so awesome. But you know, my hat's still off to him because that was way back when you couldn't tap tempo. So he actually had to sit there with a dial and he had to find that perfect tempo. He probably had it marked with a pen or something on the thing for this song and that song and this song and that song. But hilarious I don't know how he did it. Now maybe he got a rack mount one, but I can't imagine Albert Lee playing through rack gear, you know. Let's see. What did Sam say? Oh, you see a banjo back there. Yeah. This see. American Idiot. I don't teach songs. Sorry, Andrea. I don't teach specific songs because I want to be able to monetize everything I do on YouTube, and I don't want to get copyright infractions or shared streams. And the other problem with a shared stream, if I taught a lesson, they would add 1 million commercials in it. I see that all the time with Rick Beato's videos. So what did Paul say? Could you please answer? Oh, my question. Yeah, sorry. I'm getting questions now from the thing, and I'm not seeing them because I've got a list. We pre-sent in questions. After playing some minutes, my left finger starts to get black. Do you know what causes that? You saw the problem. You mean your fingertip? Maybe your strings are old. That's, I think somebody said. Or maybe the varnish on your fretboard is coming off. Maybe it's a cheap guitar and it's got. You said all fingers or just one finger? That would be weird if it was just one finger. Or you may need to see a doctor. My left fingers. Okay, so well, if it's your left fingers, it's all of them. I mean, unless you got some kind of like circulation issue, I would think before your fingers would turn black, though, you wouldn't be able to move them, or you'd have a lot of pain. So it's probably just the fretboard. Something on the fretboard is coming off on your fingers. I mean, my fingers aren't perfectly clean. I don't know if you can see that, but they also don't have calluses, even though I play all day. My fingers have just learned to grow new skin that is already kind of not hard as a rock. So I don't, there was a period of time where I would have really hard calluses and then they would break off and then you have this tender skin under there. But that hasn't happened for decades. But yeah, no, that's fine. I don't mind. Looks like, yeah, it's probably coming off your fretboard. You maybe clean your fretboard, maybe take the strings off, clean your fretboard, either put on new strings or put on the old strings. I'm not sure if your fretboard was painted, which, might be a problem. Nobody really paints fretboards. It could be also, if it's a dark fretboard like this, you can't really see how dirty it is. People always comment, like when I pull up my telly, tell me, you need to clean your fretboard. So with a Maple fretboard, you can really see the dirt. And I don't know if this is very dirty right now. I think I may have cleaned it. It's still pretty dirty. Some people have said, I can't watch your video. It grosses me out. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Don't watch my video then. You clean your fretboard. You can use water. Water is fine. Soapy water. You can buy stuff that's specifically fretboard, like cleaner. Kind of depends. I don't think you want to varnish a fretboard. I did that once. I once put oil on it and regretted it. And that may be Paulo, that may be one of the problems. Maybe somebody oiled the fretboard, and what oil does is it tends to attract, like WD-40, it tends to not oil. That's not what they put on there, but like if they put some linseed oil on the fretboard, it tends to attract dirt, and that's why I stopped doing it. Was just because, like, yes, that would happen too. So you might want to just clean it with some water or soapy water. You could even get a little brush and kind of scrub it like this against the frets like that and get it clean. That may help. I'm not a guitar tech, so I don't really know, and I'm horrible at taking care of my guitars. So I should, but I don't. Okay. Oh yeah, that's true, Guitar Dog. I hadn't thought about that. Premium, and I get, you know what? And I make more money if you're watching through a premium account. Did you know that? It pays me more per view than the standard ad version. So I think YouTube would like to move as much over to premium from ad, just because the ad industry, everybody that's making money, all the influencers, all that stuff, all the social media stuff, the money is all coming from ad revenue, and that's a pie that's only so big. So, okay, Sam. New question and topic pertaining to Maple fretboards. I bought a Made Mexico Fender Strat, and the Maple board has a high gloss finish. I know this is a high gloss finish too, and it's not. No, it's not worn off. It's not even close. It's not. Well, no, I must say this is a low gloss finish, but it's a finish. I actually, I prefer like no gloss on the back, because I get my sweat would stick, my thumb would stick. I'm trying to move up the fretboard, so like this guitar has just a matte finish. The cheap Squires all have matte finishes, which is great, or no finish, which is great. I love a plain. I could sand off the back of this, but this is such a pretty guitar. I hate to do anything to it. This is not a 54. It's a 54 reissue, and it's an MIJ, which MIM means made in Mexico. MIJ means made in Japan. And the hierarchy is basically made in America is the best. Made in Japan is like typically the second best, and made in Mexico are like the third best. Price range wise, they tend to go like that. But sometimes the made in Japan ones can be better than the US ones. Like US, they only did like a 54 reissue, and they did like I forget, for the tellies. I can't remember what other years, but in Japan they did like every year. So this is a 54 reissue. The only difference between like a 54 and a 53 is like the 53 had 7 screws and the 54 had 5 screws on the pick guard or something like that. And so, but the Japanese division, they really love that. The subtle nuances between every year. They're like, yeah, no, we're going to do a 54 and a 55 and a 56, 57. So you can often find models that were never released in the U.S. in Japan, and very, very well made. So yeah, and it's a 4-bolt. It's it's solid. It feels like, you know, it's got good weight to it. Got the original old school tuners on it and everything. So yeah, it's cool. Thank you, Bruce. Bruce is more of a guitar tech than I am. Let's see, what else now? Okay, what other questions? Okay, well, okay, I got one here. Nuclear fission. What type of metal treatment is recommended to reduce the radioactivity of base metal alloys for optimum resonance in the manufacturing of concert-style triangles? Okay. Okay, so the upload speed is better. All right. This is the question I hope they do the screenshot for. And I do believe this was from AJ. Am I right, Holly? Yeah. And apparently he's saying that Chernobyl has been advertising metal alloys at deep sale, at deep discount. Okay, so the answer to that question is I don't know. Maybe Roger knows. Can Roger chime in on this one? I went all that work to copy and paste that stupid question. No, just okay, this is one Holly asked. What are you? This is a good question. I need to think about this one, Holly. Sorry, but I'm going to post it here. I would say to this question, Holly's asking, what's your favorite exercise to improving right hand and left hand synchronization and speed? Okay. I would say you could take any exercise that you're doing and turn it into a right hand, left hand synchronization for speed. But let me pick up my, I do need a tech. I should just hire a tech full time to have a guitar tech to work on all my guitars. Get rid of that delay. Let's see, presets. Okay. All right. Now, my pickups are microphonic. Nope. This one, then this one. Okay. So any exercise you're working on, remember we have this one that we do, the 1, 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4. Okay, that can become a synchronization exercise as well. Okay, because if you're really only working on this hand and you're just doing down or using that one finger or using your thumb to do that exercise. Once you have the exercise down, you just need it to kind of to hammer home to the pinky that it's going to be responsible for some stuff, and that's why we do that exercise where we every other note is the pinky. So what it does is it works the pinky. It's a pinky exercise. Once you have it down, you can start to do it faster, but you need to do things that'll make it more complex. Well, with classical guitar, I had to do it in college. I had to do it 7 different ways with the right hand. Left hand was the same every time. I did index, middle, middle index, index ring, ring index, middle ring, ring middle, and then index middle, ring middle, index middle, middle, ring middle, you know. And that, of course, was the most complex. But it actually really worked the two elements together. So the same thing with the picking thing. You take any exercise you're working on, and you bring in some picking elements. So annoying. Too buzzy. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Let's see. Really pull down that delay. That can come way down. Pull down some of this gain. Okay. Believe it or not, that's the gain pulled down. All right. So, did it backwards again. Okay. I have Logic, the icon for Logic looks just like OBS, so I think I keep clicking Logic when I mean OBS. One exercise I do like for kind of getting the two hands working together is to take pentatonic number 1, okay, and play it. Okay, so I'm just playing it straight up and down. So I'm on the 5th fret. 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4. Okay. But then skip a string. So go. Start out with the first 2 strings, the bottom 2 strings. Go to the next one. See what I'm doing? So I can work my way up and down the fretboard, or up and down the scale that way. I can go. And you'll start to feel that in here for sure. But that help you coordinate the right and left hand. I invented that as a string skipping exercise to help practice skipping strings, and I could work my way up and turn it more into something that I could use as a lick. But once you get it down, you can play it pretty fast. Let's see. Helps to make your face look bored, right? Isn't that my rule? Look as bored as you can and you're less likely to mess up. Okay, so, but yeah, so what you do, once and again, you start out slow and make sure the two things are coordinated, and then you just start to pick up the speed. And if you're having problems, you make a smaller exercise. So if you're doing an exercise that's 6 notes, try something that's 4 notes or 3 notes. 4 notes is a good number. Show. Yeah. Well, you don't need to use your pinky. You could do that. You could do that exercise with the 3 fingers, I think. Okay. So that may help a little bit. Yeah, the face thing is funny because that really that's a recent revelation. I didn't know I was doing it. It's one of those things that I was doing, but I see it in little kids that like can shred, and you're like, they're just kind of looking around, and the bluegrass guys are like, nah, whatever. Yeah. And they just have, you know, a bored countenance on their face. If you're really paying much attention to it, you're gonna overanalyze, overthink. The senses, everything's gonna. You need to turn off almost everything. You know, like you're not paying attention, nothing around you. You're just doing what you do. So, okay. Let's see. Okay, so hey Julian, good to see you, Papadakis. All right, let's see what other questions I have here. Oh, do I have any strategies, Holly, for keeping my stiff and sore back from playing guitar for hours and hours and hours? I do try to, you know, I do just kind of this chair seems to work pretty good. I do have my everything set low, which is going to create more back issues. But I have a pinched nerve. I have a problem with pinching a nerve in my neck. So I discovered that if I was looking up too much, and when I looked up, it would pinch the nerve and it would stay for 6 weeks. I would have like stabbing pain in my shoulder and numbness in my hands. So I have to put everything lower so that I'm looking down. I even thought about getting one of those big giant screens that you can do everything on like this. But I'm just not. I tried them out a couple places and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to use this. This is not me. And I needed a keyboard and all that stuff. So, but I do try to get up. I don't really set an alarm. They do have that thing. I saw an ad for it. It was, you know, it's probably a gimmicky thing, but you can wear it on your back. And what it'll do is it'll either send you reminders to kind of keep your head back, or it'll actually vibrate and force you to constantly think of it. I'm not sure what it's doing literally. But I can feel it. The other thing is in the morning before I get out of bed, I usually bring my knees to my chest and just kind of hold them there and maybe throw one knee over the other side and kind of stretch out and then throw it the other way before I even get out of bed, because I've had chronic lower back problem. I had x-rays done when I was in my 30s and they determined that I had arthritis, which is weird, in my lower vertebrae, the lumbars or whatever they're called. So this chair does provide a little bit of lumbar support, you can see. And I got this chair at Target. I don't think they make it anymore, though. Actually, Alex got this and gave it to me. I got one. He got one, and then mine started squeaking too much, and then he gave me his because he bought a new chair. So, you know, a chair might help. But getting up, walking, I like to walk a lot, and walking is really good for your core. So like if I've got to go to Starbucks, I go to Starbucks, I walk back. If I go to the bank, I won't go to bank and Starbucks at the same time. I'll wait and save that for later. So I have to go over there twice. What are peak moments of playing guitar? That could be a long one too. I still haven't finished my question with David. So maybe a 2-stage gain pedal, a delay pedal, and a volume pedal. But if we get rid of volume and wah as options, then I might add a reverb pedal, like a Big Sky or something like that, so that I can get those really, because I love lush sounds, so I might want something like that. So those would be my 3. Before I would add a modulation pedal, I think even before I get a modulation pedal, I might put a compressor at the beginning, and then a modulation pedal, and maybe another gain pedal. Now you're getting to 6 pedals, okay? Real easy to put together a pedal board and just have like so many options. You don't know what. Alex struggles with that. He's got literally, it's like bigger than you could see if I held it up here. He did have a MIDI system, but I don't think his new one has MIDI now. It's just, I don't think it has loops, right? I can't remember. He's not on anymore, I don't think. Let's see. We should do a pedal rundown of his thing at some point. That would be kind of fun. I should do that. Okay, John said, okay, and John, you've heard this question, and I don't know if you're still there, but John says, okay, let me, I haven't really built any repertoire songs or shown level of mastery on the instrument. In short, mastery on an instrument's a big order. Okay, that is a big order. That's a big ask, not of me, of yourself. Uh, I mean, maybe I'm a master, but I kind of think of myself more as of a jack of all trades, you know. Oops. I'm not a master of anything. I'm going to do this. Sorry, I'm trying to make this question readable here. Okay. So the question is, I haven't really built any repertoire of songs and or shown some level of mastery on the instrument. In short, how do I go from being a guitar learner to being an actual guitar player? To me, the answer is simple, and that is get out there and play. And you're like, well, but I got to be good before I play. No, you don't have to be good. You just got to be able to bang out 3 chords. You could put together a whole repertoire of 3 chord songs, okay? And in the process of playing songs that are 4 chords, G, E minor, C, D, in the process of learning a bunch of those songs, maybe accompanying a singer, somebody wants to sing, you can throw a capo on and you can play all those songs using G shapes. If you're really bad and you got one strumming pattern, here's what's going to happen is you're going to go, oh, shoot, I got a gig Friday. I need to get another strumming pattern down. Well, let me try to do this strumming pattern. Or let's do a song in 6/8. Or let me add this chord. Or how can I maybe play a bass and a chord instead of just a chord? In other words, the gig will, or the notion of playing either in front of other people or playing with other people is going to be a huge motivator for you learning the things that you need, not the things you want to learn, the things you need to learn. All the time, I would say yes to gigs I wasn't qualified for because I knew it would force me to work on something like a banshee until that gig came up, and petrified. And I'd come out the back end of it going, you know what? I did pretty better than I thought I was going to do, you know. And now I've got this new skill that I didn't have before. All you need is a basic skill. I see guitar players all the time playing out that they're not, you don't need to be able that person that can play, all the parts at once and hammering and hitting and looping and all that stuff. Gary gets out there and Gary, you can play songs, real simple songs, and you're doing 2 things. You're singing and playing, so you're bringing in 2 elements to it, and then your playing is getting good too. So I feel like the key is to try to find a place where you can play, or an open mic night. Of course, COVID obviously slammed the brakes on all that stuff. But once things start opening up again, look for open mic nights where you can go up and do a song, 2 or 3 with a friend. If you're not comfortable singing, if nothing else, just jam with other players. Put together a band. The band doesn't ever have to gig, right? You can have a garage band. A garage band, that's your venue. And that would be huge. Oh, Gary's got to go. Take care, Gary. Yeah, it's been 2.5 hours. So I could do another one. I may do more on Wednesday, but I think I may do some musicality stuff. We may talk about that. Like I said, I want hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, maybe even harmonics, things like that. We could just talk about embellishments, all that stuff. We can talk about that for a few lessons maybe before I go back to maybe bluegrass for another song and then take another break kind of thing, maybe, right? Go back and forth a little bit. So, exactly, just on the patio. Play for your neighbors. I mean, I lived in an apartment building. I would sit out and practice my classical guitar and people would listen to me practicing classical guitar. When I was a kid, I played for my mom. She loved it. I would sit there. Beth would love it when I was practicing my classical guitar. She would sit there and read while I'm playing, Tarrega or Villalobos or Bach or something, and she loved it. So, all right, I'm going to take off. There are more questions. We can keep adding to this if you want, Holly, but I don't want to make too much work for you. But feel free to go to the Discord site, which is pinned up there. Dennis posted it, and we can use that. I can answer more questions on we'll do another AMA, maybe in a month. we can try to do one monthly. And then, you know, it's a nice break for me. And I don't usually have a lack of stuff to talk about. So, Arth Gonzalez says he's from Mexico. I'm looking for a new practice guitar amp. See, there you go. I don't have a recommendation, Arth. Sorry, but I just today found out that I'm going to be an affiliate for Sweetwater. So my goal is at some point to go to Sweetwater's headquarters in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and either film myself playing through a bunch of practice amps, or at least check out a bunch of practice amps, because I get asked that all the time. I think the cheap Vox amp is a pretty good amp. I did a review of the Vox something. I forget what it was, AC. I don't think it was an AC, but I forget the model that I have. But I really like that amp, and you can get some good recommendations on here too. So, but what I want to do is create maybe a page of cheap amp recommendations, maybe some cheap acoustic guitar recommendations. But those are two things that I don't have a lot of experience in, and so I have to go to Sweetwater to go play a bunch of things so that I know what they have and I can make recommendations. So, and I'm from Indiana, so we'd be going home and I could see family and then come back, so it'd be fun. And I need to meet all the people at Sweetwater. So, anyway, sweet. Thank you, Michael Mason. I appreciate that. David, hopefully I kind of got around to your question eventually. It took me forever. I apologize. Sam, you didn't ask a question, but you're always asking questions. I can do a video on all my guitar player heroes at some point. I did that during the COVID thing. We talked about my biggest influences. So that may happen again. But anyway, God bless you guys. Thanks so much for watching. We will... I think we're going to do embellishments. Maybe I'll have a slur exercise we can do together on Wednesday, and I'm going to do a video on that, but I got to find out some good exercise that we can kind of work on, okay? So we may be working our butt off on Wednesday, okay? But we'll talk about some things, okay? And that's it. I'll talk to you.